I think 'cause sometimes we see people who are successful and sometimes we hear that, oh, they came from money. So they just put money into it and then they were, rich and famous and whatever, whatever. And fame is not the goal. Being rich is not the goal. Being wealthy or just well and joyful is the goal. But it's not, money doesn't make you great. Money can be helpful, but money doesn't guarantee quality either. It's really the craftsmanship you put into something.
Welcome back to another episode of On Call, where we talk about all things Las Vegas entertainment industry. I'm your host, Matthew Gob. Today's episode, we have the fabulous Knicole Haggins in the studio with us.
Hey. Hello.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, born in San Diego, California, performed with the likes of Lady Gaga, Chris Brown, Prince, Usher, Nicki Minaj, Mary J. Blige, Ciara, Timbaland. We may have seen you in shows such as The Masked Singer, BET Awards, Teen Choice, the Latin Grammys, Glee, Saturday Night Live, The Muppets, Dancing with the Stars. Tell us, with having such a decorated resume, how did you end up being here in the fabulous city of Las Vegas?
Well, there's multiple things that happened that led me here. Initially, I was here. I grew up a little bit in Laughlin, Nevada, and Las Vegas, Nevada. So I went to middle school here, which was like Helen C. Cannon and Fremont Junior High at the time. So I got to grow up here a little bit, and then went back to Cali. Came back for a Mariah Carey residency. I think that was like 2016. And then went back to Cali, and then the pandemic hit, and there was nothing.
As we know.
And and the first big audition back from all of that was for Awakening. So I had kind of put it out there, that I was, just open to the way that life needed to move at that point. And this showed up, and I got booked for the job. And so I relocated, came back to Las Vegas, and so I'm here. I've been here for almost the past 3 years now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you were from originally, like Nevada, right? Laughlin.
Like between Cali and Nevada, it's always been like this dual citizenship between states.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's the West Coast. I'm a West Coast girl, and it feels good to be back here, though. It's just the convenience of lifestyle, and I was kind of saying before, like this is the playground of, I don't know, the United States. It's just so. The aesthetic when you look out at the skyline and just the way life runs here is amazing. It's fun and unique, and you gotta love Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, we've spoken about this earlier, but it is such a playground for kind of anything like you really just see yourself doing. Like there's not really a wrong necessarily. And it's almost like the more, I don't know, like for a better term, the more kookier, the more like out of the blue it is, the more it's like, okay, I can see that fitting in Las Vegas somewhere here or there.
There's like space for everything here, and whatever lifestyle you want to create is literally possible. That's how I feel. So it's just like this beautiful land of opportunity and creation. Just create and innovate and have fun while you do it,
Yeah, it's really awesome to see, especially being here for about 12 years now. I've seen Las Vegas, and I'm sure you've seen it too, but it's evolved in so many ways, like professional sports teams. Like that wasn't here when I first moved 12 years ago. Not a peep to be heard. And then, of course, the Golden Knights came in, the hockey team, and then you got the Raiders, and then now this baseball team is coming in. And then not only that, but I think the variety of shows are so different. Yeah. I remember first coming to Vegas, and I think my mentors would tell me, "Oh, that's so Vegas. That's such a Vegas thing. The Vegas showgirl or that kind of style was still just heavily implemented and at the forefront, to where I had to ask myself, would I be able to fit in here to Las Vegas? But then with the years that, at least the past decade, it's really like shot up in a different trajectory where the platform is so diverse now,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah, like there's definitely like this history here, like even the art form of the showgirl, like Las Vegas culture. Like there is a beautiful like history and art to that, which is, respect and honor for that. And then yeah, also it's like been very embracing lately, definitely more recently, of wanting to bring more authenticity of cultures and yeah, just widening the spectrum, which is really exciting. I think even more so than, dare I say, Los Angeles.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. I said it.
Coming from a Cali girl too, the dual citizenship over here. Yeah. Coming from you, that actually holds more weight than someone that just observes from the outside, like myself. Like I've played with the idea, back and forth the past years, like moving to LA, and I've always played with the idea, but I never did the leap for it. So hearing it from you holds more weight, more value to it.
It's taking everyone from everywhere, from LA, from New York, and then you've got, international, especially with the circus community and those people who come over here with the most amazing skills, some of the most amazing chefs internationally, like coming here and bringing the best food, the best entertainment, the best skills, just all these things. Like it's amazing.
And so going off of that, talking about like widening the spectrum, and we say like in the industry in general, right? Performers of all kinds. Why do you think that dancers specifically are more so at the bottom of the artist totem pole, like we say, rather than the actor, the singer, and all those kinds of things? Because even when I was first started dancing, my mentors were regurgitating the same thing. They would always say, dancers are always at the bottom of the artist totem pole. Always. We're always the second thought. We're always kind of just the redheaded stepchild over here, as they say. I mean, they say that in the medical field. So I kind of took that from them. They call respiratory therapists the redheaded stepchildren. So we're kind of the outcast. So I get it. And in this profession as well, they say the same thing, and it's always consistent with that. Why do you think that we're continuously at the bottom here getting scraps all the time? This is loaded, right?
It is loaded because, we're not really any different from any of those other people as you would hold them as, whether singers, artists, actors. I feel like we're very passionate and we're very willing. I just think we're very willing, and there's something that goes hand in hand, like mentally, physically, emotionally, that's just very in tune with our human selves. So we don't, and maybe some people put themselves on some type of pedestal, but with dancers, I feel like we're constantly having to be humbled, in many ways, whether that's like taking direction or being a part of jobs or like, so we constantly take criticism, we constantly have to be adaptable and flexible, and we're so willing. We're just willing. I think that's because we've been trained to be willing, to be humbled, to be taught, to then become these performers. So I don't know. I think that we have one of the hardest jobs, again, not to take away or demean or belittle any craft, because every craft has a very specific skill with a very specific type of prep and discipline behind it. With dance, though, it's such a multifaceted skill, and the physicality of it, only spans for so long before it really becomes difficult and challenging on the body. So I'm like, I don't know why we're at the bottom. We definitely should be paid, if not more, at least equal to those people and those skills, because you're only, I can't say only, but whereas something maybe I'm utilizing my voice. And again, a voice is it's an instrument as well. I sing too, so I can appreciate, the singing aspects, the acting aspects. But when you are physically putting into your physical form the things you have to express and emote and accomplish physically, like we're athletes. And it's a different type of hard, Yes, it's mentally hard, but it's physically taxing, and I don't think people realize the type of toll that it takes on us and the longevity of our careers, or the short longevity of our careers. So that's something that needs to change for sure, to really be acknowledged. Like, take a walk in our life for like an hour, step into a rehearsal or an 8-hour day, or, you know, a week of a full-time job, what it is for us, what it is for somebody else. And again, you know, not to take away from anyone, everything is hard, and none of us could probably do each other's jobs, you know, in respect to the different fields, you know, medical, entertainment, technological, economical, I don't know, it could, you know, political, like all those different things are different types of hard. But yeah, the dance world is a physicality that not many will ever understand fully, like how difficult it is.
Agreed. Everything that you're saying. I think there was an interview or a behind the scenes look on the Barbie movie. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I still need to see that movie.
It's great. It's great.
I've heard.
But all of the background actors are dancers, or were dancers. I'm not sure if you knew that.
Because we're intelligent.
Yes, and to spotlight that, we're so aware of our body mechanics. We know our bodies the best, and essentially, so all those background actors are dancers. So
amazing.
And people don't look at that detail. They just see, you know, who is it? Ryan Gosling and Olivia Wilde, I think.
Amazing, you know, amazing artists. But yeah, it's like we have a level of awareness that's hard to compare to anything. The awareness is, that's probably the strongest skill we possess, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And it's on and off stage, on and off camera. I think the attention to detail has to become our lifestyle. We're always thinking whether it's like our schedule, our opportunities, what is our outlook of our day looking like? And now if I'm here at a job, what is my workouts going to start surrounding around it? You know, there's so much attention to detail. There's so many things that is in different fields that kind of consumes a performer and a dancer almost all the time, like on the clock.
Absolutely.
Like that, you know?
At 100%.
Yeah, nutrition,
100%.
Exercise. If you have to remember, obviously choreography, blocking. There's always those last minute changes.
We're chameleons.
Yes.
We're like the ideal chameleon.
There we go.
In any given situation.
I love that.
Yeah, the ideal chameleon.
Yeah. I love that you say that, because dancers have to be so adaptive. And you said this earlier, that we are kind of trained to have to be able to adapt to a lot of situations. Because speaking for myself, I've been in a lot of jobs where it's like, okay, this is kind of your description of what you're going to do. And then on site, it changes totally. And they're like, well, now you're going to have to be this person, or now you're going to have to do this set of actions, or this is your mood, this is your character. And we're like, okay. And then we snap into it, and then we do it. And then people from the outside, they see it and they're like, oh, that's so easy. Oh, they're able to do all that because it's easy. Oh yeah, I can learn an 8 count like on TikTok and all that. But then once it becomes like an actual class setting, or they do put themselves in that, or say they come to an event, they see, oh, that's it's different now. Like, you know, like it kind of does a whole 180, and then they kind of get more respect for the dancer specifically, you know.
Also that, and I would say also like with being able to improvise, like to do something that is not laid out for you, that you have to make choices about, or intuitively allowed to happen, but because it's, something that's intuitive. And I think that, you know, intuition is something that you can also, you know, evolve in and get better at. That's another skill that not many people have, is the ability to just do or create, make it up in the moment, on the spot, and trust yourself that you're going to make it work. You know, so finding solutions, and being a solution to something that, who knows what type of situation what will be asked of you, but you're just like, okay, make it work.
Yeah, and make it look good too.
Sell it. That's what they say, you know.
That's the key thing. Like you'll improvise, You may have to change something or fine tune, and then you have to sell it like it's
Yeah.
the best thing ever, right? You got to be so about it.
So we're also in marketing and advertising.
Yes, yes. See, but yeah, it encompasses all of that. Like we actually have to be aware, and I spoke on this already, but we have to be aware of like the business aspect of things as well, because like in these preparatory industry programs or our mentors or a dance crew that we became a part of where we kind of start learning our basis and our foundation, the emphasis is very on the artistic side. And it's like, improving your craft, take all these classes, ask all these notes and constructive criticism, go out and get yourself exposed and do all this stuff. But we don't speak on the business aspect on things a lot. We don't speak about, there's so much with like the business side of things.
Oh yeah, like answering emails. I mean, that could sound really basic, but being timely, whether it's in response, communication, how you represent yourself,
Yeah, right. Collectively in unison. Yeah. Because I mean, for at least speaking for myself, I had to start learning that on my own. I had a reality check and was like, okay, do I want to just go off of somebody and work for somebody and go off of their ideas, go off of their timing, their money, or do I want to start doing that for myself? Because I felt after a certain point in my career that I was capable of doing those things too, but I didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
I know we always say like the internet is free and you can get a bunch of your knowledge from there and your resources and your info. So I did. And then I started outsourcing on my own, and I started trying to look for people that were about that life or that were in that, and the LLCs, the nonprofits, and marketing, all that was so important. But I hadn't given one ounce of thought to it until I was like later on, where I hit the road bump myself and was like, Instagram isn't going to cut it. Just Instagram isn't going to cut it, especially when they took off the monetization off of Reels. I was like, this isn't going to cut it anymore. I can't just cloud it up. I can't just fire emoji in my comments 72 times. Like that doesn't, let's be honest, that doesn't do. It does something. Everything kind of does something in the grand scheme of things, but it doesn't do enough in able to break that to the next level.
Yeah.
And to get there. And, I can't pay bills with fire emojis. I can't. So there's a certain point where like, the integrity has to still stay to yourself and like what you truly do this for.
Yeah.
But I still need a roof over my head. I still need to sleep in a bed. I still need water. I still need food. Yeah. So then, but it took the road bump for me to hit until I was like, okay, I need to start being proactive and learning about this.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like self-motivation is so important in this business, especially in entertainment, to be self-motivated, because most of the time no one's coming here to give you anything. So it's like really putting in your work into multiple places. It can't just be solely focused on one thing, but letting it also change over time and move. And again, staying kind of like in the flow with like, where is life going to move me right now? And can I go with it, and not be so stuck in one way, but open to how that moves and how we progress and then how we develop and move into whether it's higher or different things. I think that's super important. The whole, also having a business mindset of being an entrepreneur, and a lot of times giving yourself a lane or even creating something that either doesn't exist or a way that you're not relying on someone else to give you that job. You can make that job for you too,
Yeah. And I think what I found out, I know that I found this out like through my journey, is that dancers have to be multifaceted. You have to have different sources of whether that's income, different sources. I mean, that's the best way to explain it. Multifaceted, where you not just focus on the dance, but I think when people think that they have to look in different avenues in order to make ends meet at times, I think people think that they have to just let go of dance, or they have to put that on the back burner and be like, well, I got to focus on something else, which I think is just kind of a natural mechanic for the human. If you really want to supplement something and make it worth in this case, monetizing, you have to give it more of your attention and you have to supplement it because you have a saturated market of a lot of other people trying to do the same thing.
True.
So like the attention to detail has to at least go there for a little bit of time in order to get that kick started. And then you can kind of like involve what already you see kind of makes your foundation or what you've been doing for such a long time. Dance can still be incorporated in that. I just see it as like outsourcing and able to bring it back to dance and powering it even more. That way it could be better for us in the next coming days or in the next year, 2, 3, even not in our time, even for the people that are coming next. Yeah. Right.
Like, well, and that's all like, seeding and cultivating and, planting seeds here and making sure you're tending to the soil. And, if it's the season for that to happen or the season for that to happen, you kind of, I think you continue to feed into the things that are important to you and the things that you love and that whether it's the certain crafts or certain avenues of work or whatever it is. But yeah, it's like you tend to it, but you can leave it at times and trust that you've laid that groundwork, and whether you come back to it or keep, letting things change accordingly, is a very important, like.
Yeah, and I think
rhythm, for things.
I think the uncertainty kind of gets people sometimes, and
understandably,
and at least in my mind, naturally, I kind of almost see it as like, if I'm taking something on a break, I almost resort to like, oh, it's a hard goodbye. Oh, now I'm not going to do this anymore. But that's like my mind and my thoughts playing games with me, just because I'm not necessarily having to supplement it at the forefront now. But you got to realize that like it's been a part of my and like your life for a long time. Like we've been doing this for years and years to where, I mean, sometimes it feels like second nature. And I feel like it's almost okay to like, jump out of the bird's nest and fly and like cultivate that and bring that into to bring things back to it, because if we love it so much and we still want it to be incorporated in our lives, we'll find a way to still incorporate it somehow, some way. Like, absolutely, it may not be how we thought it was. Like for me, when I first began, I'm like, I want to be on camera all day, every day. I never want to give up the spotlight. I always want to be in the center. Like,
come on, superstar.
Yeah, but like, I never saw myself not being in it. But that's just that was my fierce mind with all the fiery like passion and all that, right? Yeah. And that can still be discovered even at this time now with different things. I think that some people think that the fire dies out and then, oh, well, now I'm moving on. And, some people, and I've heard this, they're like, they categorize it and they're like, well, I had to grow up. And I'm like, well, right. And I'm like, well, that's a way to think about it. That's a way to think about it. But at the same time, like, this is curated through their own experience and lens. And if they've, they have a bitter taste in their mouth from, they never got this job or this didn't pan out the way they wanted to, and that was the point in their lives at that moment when they told me. So, and I was like, ooh, that one kind of hurt, but I'm like, okay, that's how you see it. Yeah. But that's kind of how that concluded for you. But that doesn't always have to. It's not the mere fact of growing up.
Oh, hello. No, and that's that's the thing is, like, and each their own path. Whatever needs to happen in people's lives, that's their choice. Ultimately, it's their decision, to make those choices. But priorities shift, priorities change. Sometimes, maybe it's about creating a family that's more important, or maybe it's about doing some self-reflection and, personal growth work, or relational work. And sometimes, it's just, being home and being better at cooking, or like, like it could be anything that's so small, but it's in the grand scheme, it's all lending to you growing as a human. And and that just changes for everyone. I'm like, I think I've grown up, but I'm still a child at heart. Ultimately I'm still a child at heart. But I think I'm a very grown person, and, I feel decently, like calibrated and balanced in what is fun and what is work and what is business and what is life and what is family and what is love and, all those things. So, it's just kind of genuinely following the flow or the call to what is being, true to yourself in any given moment, in any path that you're on. And that's okay, but yeah, don't demean anybody who's continued to stay the course and been able to make that work in their lives and provide themselves with, sustainability and to be able to thrive in that, so.
That part, commitment is, I think it's a really good core value to have.
Oh yeah.
Commitment
to your wellness,
yeah,
commitment to your joy, whatever that is for you.
Yeah. And I love how you said you stayed the course and you stayed consistent and committed to that. And there's something honorable about that, something about keeping your word and still, being very much so grown up, but at heart, you're still a kid. You still preserve the playfulness, I guess. Like you still preserve the creativity of what we once had. And I try my best too to not forget what it felt like, to be in the kids' like lens and perspective and like how I wish this happened for me as a child, or how I wish someone told me this, or how I wish there was a podcast that people were sharing their experiences. That way I can learn indirectly and then learn from that. But there's something beautiful about preserving the inner child in you and all that. So I love that you brought that up. So what are some things you'd like to see change in the future for dancers and performers alike?
Man.
I don't know.
So much.
Right, in 5-10 years from now.
So much. I think the most important thing is to keep seeing healthy environments. Like health first, whether that's mentally, emotionally, psychologically, like those little three kind of link together, physically. That's the most important, I think. And then that's in any industry, but specifically in entertainment. I just think that we're always kind of, not really seen as like a full functioning human being at times. We're kind of just, do this, go here, accept this, and don't have thoughts, and don't rebuttal, and don't have opinions. And I think there's a way we can always professionally and respectfully, have conversations about, whether it's our opinions or our thoughts and things like that. But just to be in safe spaces where we can have, honest, genuine conversations, I think it starts there. If we can be that way, I think as when we're in a cast, so the artists, the performers, we have that amongst ourselves, but to feel safe that we have that with other people, especially our higher ups, whether it's the directors or the managers, and we're not always going to have a say in how things go. And, we shouldn't be just mad that we want it our way all the time. But I think that if we can discern what's coming from a healthy, good solution lending place, then why not, if we're in a place of management or directing or where we may be, that we're open to more ideas, to more information that may help, whether it's the show or the business, succeed, whether that's making people more money overall. Like, hey, you might have some information that we're not in on. And if you share that with me and that makes me successful, like, thank you for that. We want more of that, So, I think sometimes those spaces aren't really nurtured. And so sometimes it could be said, but sometimes it doesn't really feel like that's okay, or to see where people are coming from, a positive, perspective on things. That's the first thing that needs to change for sure. Definitely the second thing is, our rates, our pay scale. I've talked about this a few times in different places, and it's not always about the money, but it is still an important part of how things work in the economy, and how our our means of living are continually elevated to at least be decent with where things are headed. And so many times it's just, nothing is moving, nothing is changing, nothing is progressing, and we're not looking at what's being asked from people, and then we demand so much and give so little. And it's like, there's so much that goes on in business that sometimes people don't understand how money works, so we can't just assume that there's this unending, abundance of funds and money. We get that. But if you cannot uphold a certain rate to hire people respectfully, then don't have it. And I mean, I would never want to see anybody replaced by, AI technology or anything like that, which I know can also be a shortcut. But I think that the human experience is far more valuable than anything technologically could ever be. So honoring that, and then for us to also be educated in what our worth is. And again, you can't put a number on worth, but we should be able to make a good living and be able to pay for things like especially our health care. I would love to be able to walk into a doctor's office or a dentist's office and just pay and not have like this concern, like I can't. So I'm just going to deal with this limp in my leg or this hole in my, tooth or, deal with this really intense amount of pain. And because I can't like financially afford that. And that should never be anybody on this planet, first of all, but we just need to look at that as a whole. Just financially, we need to respect and take care of people. And I think that we'll get so much more back when we do.
Yeah. And there's something that doesn't add up when we were speaking of, we use our bodies all the time. That's our job. That's our livelihood.
Yeah,
we have to upkeep it. And I mean, I was doing this too when I was in shows, but the upkeep was out of my pocket.
Yeah.
The training, aside from the PT, like everything else was my pocket. And to still not get the health care that we need, but our bodies are our livelihoods. Yeah. It's like if something doesn't add up, it's like how are dancers not at the forefront, just like a football player, right, just like a basketball player.
Right.
They get to see the top physicians, surgeons in the world, but how we use our bodies just as much, maybe even more in different parts of our body. How do we not have that either? How is that not at the forefront? Like the shows, the concerts, the Barbie movie, like everything, like there's performers and dancers. Why are they not prioritized? Like there's something that doesn't add there.
Right. I think there needs to be more collaborative work where I do see it in the athletic world. So it's like there's sponsors and, certain things like that where I'm like, do it for shows, do it for dancers, do it for performers where, these performers are sponsored and they can make, more money or represent some brand or things that go hand in hand with the quality of things that we use as performers or professionals. And that lends to like, okay, well, we can, work together with these people and work together with them. And then we can build more sources of income that way that lends to each other. I don't know. I know that, and there's also a lot of money in sports. It's also like the gambling side, or you can bet on sports. In art, you can't. But there's something that we need to find the missing link of how we can still, don't want to make art just something that you're trying to make money from. Art was always this beautiful expression, like this, expression of spirit and this gift that's not really, and it's so hard because we don't want to charge for it. We don't want to charge for that because we just love it and we do it. And that's a gift, But at the same time, it's like, well, how can we really care for ourselves and really create the lives that we can have, that we can truly have and be like up there with, the athletes and the big players. I'm like, let's find a way humanely to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I know, I don't know extensively how true it is, but I know at least at surface level in places in Europe, Amsterdam, they invest in their artists of all kinds. My favorite currently, and honestly forever, my favorite choreo dancer is Kenzo Alvarez. Nice. And oh man, he's so great. I can go on a whole podcast episode about him, but we're not. But he was talking on his live, and there was about how the government just funds the arts and how they really care about it, and it is at the front of like of their minds and their agenda. Like they really do give that money to the artists. Like I've worked with Murmuration Sadek, I think from France, the whole like tutting stuff.
Amazing.
So I worked with them when they had a gig here in Vegas, and I saw he was doing. I followed him afterwards and his whole team, but I saw that they were doing campaigns for like Bulgari, Gucci, Nike, all these like big, very well known brands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, they're really investing in their artists. Like they suited them up.
Yeah.
They have everything. Like they base it off of their strength, which is the tutting and the visuals and stuff. And they suited them up. They gave them money they gave them a budget for all these things. And I'm like, can the American government like
Can we get on
see
that?
us valuable too? Because the
Right.
whole world sees artists valuable. Art is everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says, and I don't use art. So you don't use that iPhone that you have. You don't go to Subway and get a sandwich. I used to work at Subway for 2 years. Shameless plug. And they're called sandwich artists. That's the label. It's
Amazing.
not like sandwich maker. No, they're
Yeah.
called sandwich artists.
Beautiful.
So it's like art is everywhere, and everybody consumes art.
Yes.
So I think it's just the priority.
Yeah.
Because the American government doesn't prioritize as much, and you can see, but how? Breaking was cultivated here, was made here, and like all of that. So it blows my mind. It blows my mind that we don't see that, but the rest of the world does.
Yeah.
You know, and so priorities.
And
right?
that starts too, I think, with businesses trusting that what they're investing in, they will get a return on. And I think as performers, we also put in more effort. Like we're not just the body, we're not just the face, but we go, we are the advertisement, we are the promoters. Like we will go, and if we believe in your mission statement or your goals and your intentions as a company, then we're here to be the catalyst. We're here to like support that. We're here to just naturally be supportive of that through anything we share, anything we do. And so, yeah, it's like, it should be a relationship of reciprocity where it's equally this exchange of respect and honor. And the more we do that, oh my gosh, like the sky is the limit. It could be so incredible. And we're already doing that, but I think we're still being taken advantage of. So
Yeah.
again, not only with, does it start with the government, but starts with just the businesses, and even, whether it's local or national on whatever scale, I think that we can do some greater good if we just set that intention and believe in it,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a quote by you here. And it's so fitting. I know what we're talking about right now. Your quote is, "Money doesn't make an artist, the craft does." Now, when I was researching you a little bit, I found that quote very interesting and very relatable. That's what I want to say. Since we're talking about that, where did you kind of construct that? Where did that inspiration come from to give us that?
I think 'cause sometimes we see people who are successful, and sometimes we hear that, oh, they came from money. So they just put money into it, and then they were, rich and famous and whatever. And fame is not the goal. Being rich is not the goal. Being wealthy or just well and joyful is the goal. But it's not, money doesn't make you great. Money can be helpful, but money doesn't guarantee quality either. It's really the craftsmanship you put into something, the time, the effort, the years, the hours, the decades, whatever. That's what really makes something quality. That's what makes something great. That's what makes something withstand, time. And that's, in my opinion, what it is to truly build a legacy. Something that is going to continue beyond you is something that you continue to work at and let it evolve, and you make adjustments and you chisel off the imperfections or whatever, but it's a continuous love for your craft that gets you there, not the money. Money's helpful, and maybe your craft eventually got you money that you're able to do more with, and that's amazing. But I think also as a kid it was like feeling like, well, if I don't have the money, then I'll never make it. Or even with something as small as pictures or headshots, or it's like you got to have like hundreds of dollars to get these done, and I'm like, No, like maybe you need to go find out who your good photographer friends are. And that, reaching out to them is going to in turn help you. And then there's a way that you found the solution to a problem that money ultimately was not the problem to. But we limit our thinking and we limit what we think is possible by being in a place of lack, like lacking money. So I think it's just like, set your intention and give to it, and anything can be possible. So
yeah, the dancer, the performer has to be so multifaceted, right? We have to got to be so. I mean, I think that's the phrase. That's the key words today is multifaceted, right? I mean,
yes.
You got to just be so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, and I think sometimes, at least from my experience of observing, is when people. They're kind of like they lack the knowledge of something specific, then they kind of get reclusive, and then I don't know anything about that, so it's like an easy stop right there, and it's like, I don't know, so this is where the roadblock is going to be at right now. Like I've seen that countless amounts of times, and then it always reverts back to just what you know. So, and then I'm like, I got to take like a bajillion classes, and then someone's going to like notice me. And like, that's a way, that may not be like the and one only way.
Absolutely. But
then I just resort onto what I know, instead of welcoming the information and being like, well, I'm a beginner.
Welcoming.
I don't mind. I don't mind in your eyes or whoever. He looks dumb because he's a beginner and he's like 30 years old already, and I'm not afraid to even if that's not the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may feel like that. You're like, I feel dumb. Like I don't know anything about this, and that discourages you. But I've changed the mindset to where I welcome that, and I'm not afraid to look silly.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to look out of place, because that little moment that like. You think it's a spotlight effect and everyone's looking at you and being like, oh, they look dumb doing that. Yeah. You're breaking new avenues and you're breaking barriers in order to just be more expansive and more knowledgeable.
Yes,
and it's like, why not welcome these things?
Yeah. That's the challenge to face in everything. But it's like constantly dropping the fear. Just constantly dropping the fear. Like, you couldn't have said it better. Welcome. Welcome it, And
I'm still working on that with auditioning. Like, even till this day, like I've done so many auditions in front of so many different people for so many different shows and companies. But I still get this thing in my head, like the day before is when it really hits me. And I'm like, you can't do it. No, you can't. And all this negativity and all these things dragging me down. And I'm like, making excuses and so it's part of the human experience, but that's something that I'm still working on. Some people will think I have it all together because of what I'm doing and all this, and I'm like, well, it's because I put it all out there. I was welcoming and I was acceptive and I was organic about what was going on with me. And the more you walk in your truth, the more it's going to feel better. The more you're going to magnetize people that truly belong in your gravitational pull and in your life. And it's not just a one-way connection. Like, you're also, it gives kind of thing, but you become that magnet ultimately to who really is aligning with you, the events, the tools, the materials, the people. Once you start walking in your truth more than just like 50% of the time, then it starts to become 70, maybe 75. Now you're feeling yourself. Now it's 78, like, but like, just walking in your truth.
Yeah. And I think it's like showing up and not having an expectation. Just show up. No expectations, but that you're going to gain something regardless. And it never gets easier. I don't think it gets easier. I'm in the same boat. I have an audition coming soon. And I'm like,
are we talking about the same
what is that? What is that? And maybe, I don't know.
On the 16th? We're talking about the same one.
And it's funny, though. It's like auditions or work things kind of tend to pop up around my birthday. And I think I have this weird interest because I'm like a workhorse, Like, I'm like, I do love work. Work is great. So I have like birthday jujus that always feel like, okay, like, maybe it's not the thing you want to do around your birthday. You know, like, I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to go through that process of like just being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, you know. But again,
judged by people,
it's hard. You know, people think it's all fun and games. I'm like, it is a lot. It's a lot.
It knocks on the door of your insecurities all the time.
Hello, hey. You can answer the door. So it's just it's interesting. But yeah, again, it's like we constantly challenge ourselves. It never gets easier, no matter how much we do, and it's constantly our choice whether to show up or not. So here we go.
Yeah,
here we continue to go.
Yeah, I'll see you there. I'll see you there. Before we head out of the studio today, lovely conversation. We're so great to have you here.
You.
I made this connection right before we hit record. I mentioned the Latin Grammys in here in your work, in your line of work, right? I think I do have a flashback memory of remembering you taking a picture with CJ. Right?
Yeah.
And I think we did the same Latin Grammys.
Did
because
we?
I was there too.
At the MGM.
At the MGM,
Yeah.
yes. I think my dates are probably off, 2017 or 2018. One of those years. But I was in CJ's group. We did Nicky Jam, J Balvin, Steve Aoki. We did their performance.
Amazing.
But I do recall seeing you there now, and then I saw the picture. It was like CJ, and like
Will?
maybe Will.
Yeah.
Yes. So me, Will, and CJ were all in that group.
I remember because it was like the blue with the orange.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were doing. We did Carol G.
Carol G.
And that was so fun. Yeah, Carol G. I love that. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share
That's
that.
a trip.
I was like, I just wanted to share that because I think it's really awesome how our paths cross in a more emphasized way here, but back then our paths crossed too, which isn't a surprise, but I think it's kind of cool just to know, like, or not know at that time we would be in this moment right now. Right. But, so like 4 or 5 years, probably even more. What was it, 2024? Jeez.
Oh my gosh. You're better with, yeah. It's 2025 now.
You were just about to say I'm better with.
I was going to say you're better with dates. Wait a second. It is 2025.
You guys didn't hear that.
But yeah, what a trip with the Latin Grammys. We're teaching at Millennium Las Vegas.
Yes,
love that.
Yeah.
And here we are on your amazing podcast.
Yay.
Thank you for having me. And this is amazing. So
where can our viewers, our audience, where can they find you and stay connected with you? And if they want to see you in the Vegas Valley, whether it's take your class, if there's a performance coming up or anything, share that with us. Where can they find you?
Currently right now I'm teaching at Millennium Dance Complex, Las Vegas. Super excited to be there. It's a beautiful dance family. I love the studio. So I'm there currently Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And then what else is going on? You can follow me at flavorfulsoul on Instagram. I try to, stay with the social media over there a little bit while also living my life. So you catch me there once in a while, see some of the things that have gone down and some things that are coming. And I usually post when I teach or when I'm involved with a show or something like that. So,
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, you guys. That's our interview for today. We appreciate your time. Catch us here in another episode of On Call. You can stream us on all streaming platforms now. But in the meantime, we'll see you next time.